Welcome to the first in a video series showing how to use the Music Online database, which is brought to you by the Poly Music Library, which is the music library for Lincoln City Libraries. You can go to lincolnlibraries.org and go to Online Resources, access from inside or outside the library. Since I'm inside the library, I'm going to have to choose inside. If you're outside of the library, you'll want to have your library card number handy, as well as the PIN number that you'd use for other parts of the library website, like placing holds. So the Poly Music Library provides for access to Music Online, which is 6 different web resources, which you can see here under Music Online. We're going to go ahead and click into the main section, and from here you can search through all 6 of the primary collections. An alternative way to get into this, by the way, is if you're on the Poly Music Library part of the Lincoln Library's website, which we'll bring up right here. If you go over to the right sidebar, you'll see Music Online listed over here in the Online Music Resources section. Those things just above it there are the different components of the Music Online website. But from here you can search into all of the 6 different databases that are available. Over on the right here you can see the 6 different collections that are part of the Music Online database. If you're doing research on a particular artist, subject, or song, you may just want to search using this central Music Online portal, because the searches here will look in all 6 of those databases at once, and that will save you some time. However, if you're browsing or not looking for something specific, I'd recommend going into the individual database sites. But for now, let's go ahead and just try doing some searches here too. Down here you can also browse. These are some browsing subcategories among American music, classical music, dance, film, jazz, popular music, theater, and world music, and then there's some different subcategories that you can use to browse there. Those browsing mechanisms too will look through all of the different databases. But for now, let's go ahead and try a search related to some questions that I've heard from patrons lately and see what we can find here. So let's put in harmonica and see what we get. So these databases are focused on recordings primarily. They're not so much text-based things or books like most of the stuff that you would get if you come visit the Poly Music Library. But as you can see here, we had over 2,000 results for harmonica, a wide variety of different recordings in a wide variety of different musical styles. Let's go back up to the top here, and let's look at this classic harmonica blues from Smithsonian Folkways. This is sure to be a really good resource, as the Smithsonian Folkways collection is always really good. Over here on the right, you can look at some metadata for each individual track on these recordings. Just above that, you'll see details, tracks, and related documents. The related documents will usually be things like the liner notes that were related to the particular recording, but you can play the recordings up above. Along the top you'll see all of the information for the entire recording in one big long sound file that you can play and stop. You can also extract clips and stuff, but we'll get into that a little bit later. We'll go ahead and click on full text and transcripts for harmonica results. So this will take us directly into some liner notes that talk specifically about harmonica that have a lot of different results that come up. We'll go ahead and click on Blind Boy Fuller's complete recorded works in chronological order, and this will take us to some liner notes that are relevant to finding out more about that. So sure enough, here we see released in '92 on Document Records. We find a little bit of biographical information about Blind Boy Fuller. And then here we have his recorded discography as reflected in that release from 1992. So over here we can see different types of content. You can look at the things that came up in this search result. You can sort them by composer. If you click on more, you'll get a huge variety of composers here. You'll see some classical folks as well as blues and jazz folks showing up there in that list. And this will show you toward the top here where some of these results are coming from, some of those different databases: the American Music Database, World Music, Jazz, Classical Music, and Popular Music. So from these results we'll find a lot of different uses of the harmonica in recorded music. So here, if we try a different search, let's search for composer John Adams. This will be an interesting search because John Adams is this is sort of a trick question, I guess you could say here. So here we get some results, quite a few, 788, And indeed, we see some recordings right away of John Adams. But as we scroll down here a little bit, we see John Luther Adams, Strange and Sacred Noise, coming up there. Adams Harmonium, which is kind of an essential John Adams recording that came out on ECM. And then we're getting some results that maybe aren't John Adams, the composer, but it's, since we didn't put in quotes, we're getting John and Adams separately. So this search maybe is giving us more information than we want, and maybe the information isn't as clear as we would want it to be. So let's go back out and click on Advanced Search. So here we're going to get a few more options, and if you're searching for someone like the composer John Adams, we'll maybe learn a little bit more information here. So if you click on these Select Terms segments beside a lot of these advanced search components, here in the Composer section, we'll see that we actually have several different John Adams showing up. We have Adams John Coolidge, Adams John Luther, and Adams Johnny. So let's check on, for example, Johnny Adams here, 1932 to 1998. We'll go ahead and add that term, and we'll click on Search. And sure enough, this is the R&B artist Johnny Adams and his album From the Heart. So we can click through here. We could listen to the entire album here. It'll give us a lot of additional metadata on each track. We can go into details to find out just the general recording information about the whole album. And if we click on Related Documents and then click on this PDF file, this will be a scan of the liner notes from the whole record. And there's some great liner notes here too, lots of details. So anytime you get a chance to look at the liner notes in these, you're definitely doing yourself a favor checking those out. So here indeed we have a John Adams that maybe isn't the John Adams we were looking for, but maybe this will be cool to check out too. But let's go back and click on Select Terms here again under the Composer section. And this time, if we were looking between, say, John Coolidge Adams and John Luther Adams, those are probably the two classical John Adams that people most likely would be looking for. John Coolidge Adams is the John Adams who is usually referred to without mentioning his middle name. And indeed here we get John Adams Harmonium is the first result that pops up here. We only got 28 results under this, but these are all the composer John Adams, and these will all be interesting recordings to check out. It's a pretty good overview of his career here, so there's a lot of interesting material to check out. We can click on Next and see even some more pieces coming up. So these will be recordings sometimes done by a variety of different ensembles. They contain, perhaps recordings of various composers' music, but if John Adams is on here, then they'll show up. But let's go ahead and back out of here. So for many of these categories that have a Select Terms option, you'll want to go ahead and click there and go through that list. Some categories have a very short list of terms that will find fruitful hits, while others are quite large. But let's go ahead and look through some of these results as far as what we could do for listening and research. So again, basically all of these resources are sound libraries of streaming audio, but unlike a lot of other streaming audio options you might find online, there's quite a bit of useful metadata. If you're signed in here, you can make clips, you can bookmark positions that you're in a particular recording if you want to go back and reference them. Since I'm not actually logged in, I'm just in the internal library account here. I don't think it's going to let me do this. Yeah, it looks like I need to actually be logged in. If you were logged in with your library card and PIN number, it should let you insert bookmarks and create clips that you could then send to yourself or send to a mobile device. So if you're doing, again, different types of research, you can go in and take care of referring back to these things at a later date by emailing yourself the details that you want to look at. And again, with a lot of those records, if you click on that Related Documents tab, you'll get access to a scan of the original art and liner notes. And if you're working on a research project, that might be just what you need for reference material. Toward the left side of the screen, just under the album's title, you'll also see citations, email, share, playlist, embed, and etc. So there's a few different options there too. So we'll head into another John Adams recording here. This one's offering us awards and reviews as something that we can look at. In this case, it looks like these are just some information that came from the All Music Guide, but that'll tell us a little bit about the materials that we'll find here. And again, you can go through and listen to these things, but also make bookmarks and send clips to yourself, so if you're working on a project, you can bring all those things together more conveniently. So back out here in the advanced search area, I'm going to type in religious music of India. This will be a great example. Hopefully this will pop up here. This is a great old Folkways recording. There we go. That's what we want, Folkways records from 1952. So not only can you listen to this recording, but hopefully we have related documents here, and you'll be able to click on related documents and look at these liner notes, which in a situation like this, if you're doing some research on the religious music of India, you may find these especially useful because there's some transcriptions in this particular set of liner notes. So we'll have an introduction that kind of talks about the overview of the recording, some of the texts that are used, and then some transcriptions of some of the melodies and rhythms that you'll find in the recording. Yeah, there's quite a bit of information here, so you can use some of this stuff as you're listening along to even sort of figure out how to play some of this stuff yourself. So at any rate, I hope you found this video tutorial helpful. If you do have any questions on using this music online database, you can email me at polley, P-O-L-L-E-Y, at lincolnlibraries.org, or you can call the Poly Music Library at 402-441-8520. This will be the first in kind of a video series here, so stay tuned and I'll go through each of these little subsections. We'll check out the American music database here in a video coming your way soon.